Welcome to Backstage with Becca B with special guest John Battagliese. Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Backstage with Becca B. On this episode, you might have seen today's guest in shows like American Idiot, Hairspray, Grease, For the Record's Boss, Star-Crossed Love, Cruel Intentions musical tour, For the Record's Love Actually, and in workshops such as Chasing Rainbows and Marilyn, a New Musical. Please welcome John Battagliese. Thank you for joining me on this.
Absolutely. It's so awesome. I was doing some stalking of it. You've had so many great guests.
Thank you. Thank you for doing some stalking of it too.
Absolutely. Oh, I love it.
I love it. It's been fun bringing the theater conversation back into the world, and
yeah, well, it's necessary.
Yeah, it's completely unnecessary, and you've done so many great shows. So
I've gotten lucky. I've got especially ones that are like very niche.
Yeah,
they're very niche.
And I have a ton of questions. So
I'm ready.
Okay, I'm going to start from the beginning.
Great.
So first off is something I always ask. Have you always known that you wanted to be a performer? And if not, when did you realize?
I have. My parents tell a story. You've seen the Grease movie, I assume. Everyone's seen the Grease movie. Yeah. I was obsessed with it growing up. And when I was, I think, like 6 or 7, my parents took me to see Grease in Philadelphia, where I'm from. And the teen angel was played by Frankie Avalon, who plays it in the movie. And he's like a Philadelphia icon. He is like a hometown hero. So he came out and he immediately got a standing ovation. And I had never seen anything like it. Like, he didn't even open his mouth. And I like pointed to him and I looked at my parents and was like, I want to do that. And that was it. And then I got stuck. Yes.
And this was farther down on my list, but I actually had a Grease question because you played Danny in the Grease production.
Yeah.
When you first saw the movie, like, did you ever think that you'd actually be like on stage performing in a production of it?
It's all I could talk about. I had done it in high school, my like freshman year of high school.
Aww.
And so it was like my obsession. So getting to do it professionally was really cool. It's my brother's most hated show. And so having me play it on repeat and like wear the VCR thin was pretty much his living hell. But it was, I love it. It was a dream.
It's one of those classics that really gets you into
yes.
Loving musicals, for sure. So what was the first show you ever saw? That's not.
First show I ever saw. Grease is up there. Grease. There's a story about me seeing Beauty and the Beast, which I love. Obviously, another movie that I like.
Yes.
Who I am, but I ran out of the theater. We were in like the 6th row. My parents were so excited. They were like, "Okay, we're going to see it." And during the like prologue, I lost it. When the witch came out, I was like, "Nope." And I got up and just sprinted out of the theater screaming. So, and that was my senior year of high school show too. So they all come back. They all come back to haunt me. But I think that might have been my first theater experience. And then I saw Grease.
The running out of the theater experience was first.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I'm pretty sure I had some of those experiences too as a kid.
Sometimes they're scary.
Yeah. And I worked Frozen recently at Pantages, so like with kids like when the ice came out who were like scared of the ice, and the parents were like, "Does it get louder than this?" I'm like, No, but you can like watch on the screens in the lobby. It's fine.
Yeah. No, when I saw Frozen, I was like, I think like little kids, like my like cousin's kids were like Frozen obsessed. And I was like, I don't know if they're old enough to see it yet. It gets a little scary. It's really good.
It's loud and everything's right in front of you. So it's like,
yeah.
It's a sensory overload kind of. So what was your school experience like with theater in high school and in college?
In high school, I didn't know much. I got very lucky that people pointed me in the right direction. I did like a summer program called Westchester Summer Stage, which I just did shows every summer, and that's kind of where I got bit by the bug. And then I went to a high school that really loved theater. It was kind of like it was in the 50s almost, like football and sports were in the back burner, and there were 250 kids in the play every year.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was really fun. And in high school, they were doing a revival of Brighton Beach Memoirs on Broadway.
Ooh.
And I am very wrong for that show. I am not Jewish. But I saw online that they were having like an open call for it. And I had just seen 13, the musical. And I was like, I can do this. And so I wrote a letter to Jay Binder, who's a very famous casting director. And I like had my parents send it. And I was like, just send this. And he called my house, or his assistant called my house. And my mom thought it was my aunt making a joke, like playing a joke on me. And he invited me to come to New York and audition. And he was so kind to have me come. I had no reason to be there. But he then was like, you should look into training programs. And he mentioned the University of Michigan, which I didn't know was a great school. And so I applied, and I was going to my junior year, I guess, then. And so they accepted like 6 rising juniors, and then the rest were all seniors. And so I, by a whim, got into that. And my roommate at Impulse was Aaron Simon Gross, who was one of the leads of 13. And so it's kind of, and then the two of us went to the Northwestern summer program the year after. And that's kind of when I realized I wanted to go to CCM, which is where I went. And CCM was amazing. There were 9 boys and 9 girls in my class, and it was definitely a crazy place, but I learned a lot.
Those schools are tough. Like, I don't think people realize how tough they are to get into, because everyone I've talked to, they're like, yeah, the audition process for getting into the school was
crazy. Yeah, I got very lucky. And I mean, CCM is the first musical theater program. So all the curriculums for every musical theater program are designed off of theirs. So
wow.
It's very strict. Did
you have any like do you have anything that you like still remember to this day from learning at the school at college?
Yeah, a lot. It depends on the day. There's a lot of knowledge that I can apply, but what's probably, I don't know. I mean, there's so much, but I think one of the best pieces of advice I got, which I got at Impulse the first time I went, which was Michigan, and then I got again in college, was just to keep your eyes on your own paper, to not look side to side, because then you get lost, which is hard to do sometimes, but it definitely is true, because nobody has the same path. I feel like I am a testament to that I'm like, I did not expect my life to be all over the map in all these different places. I kind of was like, oh, I'll go to musical theater school and I'll live in New York and this is what I'll do. And if I had done that and not left, I would have missed out on so many amazing experiences.
Yeah, and then you did you do the shows that I saw on your resume in Missouri while being in
Yes, I did Hairspray in college.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was everyone like I don't know if you've heard of the MUNY, but
yes.
It's like every musical theater school drives in the middle of February or March to St. Louis, like, and usually get snowed in there, and they audition all weekend, and it's like 600 people are there, and I went every school year, like freshman through senior year, and so Hairspray was my junior year, and I got to do it with, I mean, an awesome cast. Ryan Redman and Taylor Louderman and Brian Batt. Like, it was really cool.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
And then when did you come out to the West Coast and get involved in West Coast stuff? Because you got involved in FTR on West Coast in Vegas.
That was a little a surprise to me. It's kind of a testament to keeping your eyes on your own paper, and my dad always says, who knows what's good and what's bad?
Yeah.
So this is a long-winded story. So
that's fine.
Okay.
You're fine.
So I was in California for my family lives half the year in Newport Beach. So they're half the year there and half the year in Philly. So we were out there for my dad's birthday, and I had to fly back for an audition for Chasing Rainbows, which they did at Paper Mill.
Yes.
And it was the first show I actually auditioned for out of Showcase in college. So I had to go and do that like the next day after Showcase for Clark Gable in the show, and I was like, I'm gonna get this. This is gonna be amazing. I was like the youngest person there, didn't get it. So a year later, I fly back for my dad's birthday for a Chasing Rainbows audition. They had changed directors, and it was Matt Lenz, who I worked with before, and he's like a really good family friend. So I was excited and was determined that I was going to get it.
Yeah.
And so I like sing my like golden age song that was very boring. I was not very good. And they're like, okay, can you sing a pop song? Like the casting director said, can you sing a pop song? I was like, sure. And I was like not warmed up. I think the first appointment of the day. And it all went fine. And then I let out the worst crack on the last note. And I just started laughing. And I was like, which is not what I don't think you should do that. But I was like, we can't even pretend that was good. And they like let out like a very kind chuckle. So I didn't get that. And my agent called me and was like, hey, you're not getting Chasing Rainbows, but the casting director wants you to make a tape for Baz by the end of the week. And I was like, what's that? And so I get on YouTube because the whole show was filmed by fans. And I was like, whoa, I don't know what this is, but I want to do it. And I sent in tape. I didn't hear anything. And I got a call to do, I got a call that I got offered All Shook Up at the theater that I ended up doing Grease at. And I was like, cool. So I get a call 20 minutes later, and I assumed it was my agent being like, hey, here are the specifics. And he was like, actually, you're not doing All Shook Up. You're moving to Vegas next week. I was like, huh? What? It was a whirlwind, and I got it, and it changed my life. Like I have never really considered myself like I guess I did a pop, like I did American Idiot in college, but I wasn't like I'm gonna do pop songs and I'm gonna like rock out. And it was like really freeing and cool to do. It was amazing, like meeting that whole group of people and seeing that there was a whole world of shows being created, like For the Record and Cruel Intentions and all of that in LA and Vegas. And I fell in love with it. And it's how I got Cruel Intentions. I met Jordan because he was an audience member at Baz, and he was sitting in the seat that I mess with, and I knocked over his beer. Like, I didn't know who he was. And he messaged me after and was like, hey, if you ever want to do Cruel Intentions, let me know. And so that happened and did Baz. But then to like circle it back, when I got back to New York, I ended up going for Grumpy Old Men at Ogunquit, which was being directed by Matt Lenz again. And I got the offer for that. And then they were like, also, he's redirecting Chasing Rainbows, and you don't have to audition. You have a straight offer to play Clark Gable, which it was a cool
thing. Full circle.
Yeah, it came full circle. And I was like, oh, I wanted that so badly before. But if I had my tunnel vision of the way I wanted it, I would have missed out on this entire world that has become, my whole world.
Yeah, I'm getting involved in West Coast.
Yeah, so that was my tangent.
But you've done a lot of workshops too.
Yeah.
I counted it in 8 workshops.
I think if you're looking at my resume, I think it's 8. A lot of them have been multiple times, or there are some that are not listed. But yeah, I love new musicals.
Yeah, I was going to say, what makes doing a workshop so special and being in the beginning stages of a show?
I think it's awesome and hard at the same time. It's awesome because a lot of times you'll fall in love with the show and it'll change a lot. But also, I think the most magical times of my life so far have been the creative moments, late at night when you're not paying attention, or there's a last minute rehearsal for something and you go in and you're sitting in someone's apartment and a new song comes out of it. So that's been the cool part. There's a show, Modern, that I've gotten to work on that Derek Greger and Selda Sahin have written. And I ended up I just went to read through it because I sing a lot of their stuff for them and I'd done the demos. And we did like a read through with a bottle of wine, and I was talking to them, and I had decided to go to California. This was last year. This was last January. I decided I was going to go live there for 2 months before I started Cruel Intentions. And I was like, I just have nothing to do, and I have friends there, and I want to see what I would like, how life would be if I lived there. And I read through this script, and they were going to UCLA, USC. UCLA?
One of the California schools.
You're going to one of them the next day to do a workshop of modern. And they had me read through as the lead, and they didn't have someone to play it. And I was like, oh, it's so funny. I'm flying out the next day. And then they're like, can you do it? And I was like, sure. So it was all the students, and then the only non-students, ringers, were me and Michael Thomas Grant. Who, yeah. So the two of us did it, and I was like, oh, so I could like really do this here. Like there's a world for it. And because of that, I ended up doing Show La Mirada, and then that happened Love Actually. So like the rest of my year followed suit because I had just said yes to this new musical that they weren't even paying me. They gave me a bottle of wine, but it opens the doors to a lot of things.
Yes. And is there any workshop that you've worked on specifically that you see would be like a really good fit or you'd want to do on Broadway eventually?
I mean, there's a couple, but I think Modern, that show, I think it's a really awesome show. And I've gotten to do it. I ended up doing it in Seattle, and then I did it for the ASCAPs, where we did it for Stephen Schwartz and Lynn Ahrens and Scott Frankel in the fall. And so I was like, oh, I think this show's very good. So I think that would be a cool one to go along with.
It's like no big deal performing for those people.
It was the scariest day of my life. I was literally, you couldn't talk to me. I was a nightmare.
You're like,
Yeah. People were like, you need to calm down.
Look in the audience.
Yeah.
Don't look in the audience, it's fine. So speaking of Cruel Intentions,
yes,
which you mentioned earlier, that was the first show, or one of the first shows besides FTR that I ever saw in Los Angeles. So it's awesome that you got involved in that. What was it like being part of the tour cast and taking it out on the road? Because I know that's something Jordan and Lindsay were working on for a while.
Yeah. It was awesome. I had the best time. I'm so sad it was so short. I think they just didn't know how it would work on stage. Like, but it was, I can't even explain it. I don't think you can bottle up the energy. And like, it was all of our like kind of first long running like tour, and not long, but like none of us had really toured before, and we were all the same age pretty much. So it kind of felt like high school. Like it was really fun.
Yeah, that's so fun. Do you have a favorite place you went on the tour?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was gonna say Chicago, which I loved Chicago, but we closed in Philly, which is where my family's from. And no one leaves Philly. Like I've got like 400 cousins, and everyone's just so. Our closing week, I think I had like 600 people come to the show, like people I didn't even know, and I got to do all like the news segments, and I was in my prime. I was eating cheesesteaks and happy as a clam.
And you also. Taking it out on the road, it was also the first time that the show actually had a set. Yeah.
You
also got to work on like on making it a real like stage production with a whole set. How was that? It was a quick
figuring it out. We only rehearsed for I think 10, 15, or no, I think like 10 or 12 days. Like we put the tour up really fast. And so they were like just quickly kind of throwing stuff. And thank God for David Wright and Brooke Singer, because I don't pick up choreography quickly. So I would be like, and they were changing stuff so fast that I was like, I didn't get that. You have to teach me that after. But it was really awesome. And I think it worked really well. A lot of people went crazy for it. It's fun seeing all of like the moms in the Midwest have their like mom's night out. and like sing along with the songs and go crazy.
Had you seen the movie before you got cast in it or no?
Yes, I had seen parts of the movie. I wasn't like I wasn't like a cult follower of it, but I had like seen parts of it late night on TV.
Okay. I actually had never seen it before I saw the movie.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, this is an interesting little like show.
I think I saw the musical in full before I watched the movie in full because I saw it at LPR.
Same. It's brilliant. And then last year you did, well, actually first, did you understudied Sebastian too and played Greg?
Yeah.
Did you get to go on as Sebastian on the tour?
I didn't. I did not. I had my put in, which was awesome, but I did not go on because pretty much, I think only one person called out our whole run. We were only on tour for like 4 months. So there wasn't room for much calling out. We had a lot of breaks. We had like a lot of like 3 days off in Pensacola, Florida, which were supposed to be, I think, travel days. And then they're like, oh, we don't need 3 days to travel. So we'll just fly there. So I did not go on, but if they ever do Cruel Intentions again somewhere,
yes,
I'll come in.
Hopefully LA.
Yes.
We need it back in LA.
I know.
It's brilliant. And then last year, what I was saying before, you did Love Actually with FTR.
Yes. Yeah. At the wall.
How was that experience? That show was so. In 2018, I believe they did it a little differently than they did it in 2017 with like the screens and projections and everything during the show.
Yeah, we had all the bells and whistles, the whole production, because they had done it in the black box, like as a kind of reading-ish sort of thing in, I think, 2017. It was amazing. Oh my God, it was so cool. Was it like, you guys want me to be in this? Because it was like, I got to open the show and it's Beverly Hills in Christmas time. So it's like all the stars are coming to see this. And I'm like the first person to walk out on stage. One night I like got a text from my roommate in LA and she was like, she works for Ellen. And she was like, hey, I heard Shonda Rhimes is like in the third row at your show tonight. I like the day I was like, right when I was walking on stage. And I was like, so of course I walk out and I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, I was starstruck. But the whole thing was really cool. And that cast was just unbelievable. I got to work with so many people I idolized. So I was in heaven.
Yeah, and the Wallace is so beautiful.
Yeah, and I had worked for the Broadway Dreams Foundation. I was a student and then I was an intern for years. And so I had worked at the Wallace as an intern for like 3 summers. So it was very cool to come back and like be in the show. Another
full circle moment.
Yeah. It all hopefully comes around.
Lots of those because with Grease, with Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
Wow, seeing a pattern here. Seeing a definite pattern. So For the Record has been around for a while in Los Angeles, and now since you've been in it in 2 For the Record shows, you've had the inside look at it. What do you think makes For the Record such a special show and successful show in Los Angeles or the West Coast?
It combines people's favorite things. Like, it combines the movies and everything that people love and honors them, but also makes it new and makes you want to see it again. And I mean, the music, like the arrangements they have, Jesse Vargas and the team before Jesse, but I mean, Jesse is just so gifted at putting stuff together, and Shane and Steve can combine a show so incredibly, and Anderson, like they are all just so good at what they do. And as a team, I think they bring out the best in each other. So I just think it's like the combination. I think it's just, they kind of hit gold with what they do. And the music, like I could listen to the arrangement of Young and Beautiful from Baz every day of my life.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, and I think it's just like, I need more of it. I want it everywhere.
Yes. And before getting into Los Angeles theater, had you ever like been a part of a theater community that's, I don't know, it's like so tight knit.
Yeah, I've realized that.
This is like super intimate in most of the shows.
Yeah, I had not been a part of one like that. I think the closest thing is like, musical theater school, and then we all moved to New York, and everyone from Michigan and Carnegie Mellon and Baldwin Wallace, but and you all just live in a bubble. But I think the nice thing about the LA theater community is that you can work regionally while still living at home. Like, you can do a show at La Mirada and still live in your apartment in West Hollywood. And it's not like in New York where you leave and you go do a show at Goodspeed and you're out of town for 4 months and you have to like live with, you can still like have your life. And I think that's the thing that kind of makes it so special.
Yes. And the audiences at like Rockwell and like Elstead and all these places that, all these places Jordan finds, honestly, Jordan Ross finds these like intimate venues, and he's like, I'm gonna do shows here.
I know. Oh, I know. I can't wait until I can get to see one of his shows, because I haven't gotten to see any other than Cruel Intentions. But anytime he posts about like A Walk to Remember, they're all my favorite movies. Well, I'm getting on a plane right now.
Yeah, or next time, just be in it.
I know. I have to move. I have to move full time, I think.
Yeah. When theater comes back, you can be in one of them.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Me and Betsy will be there with bells on.
Yes, I'm so down for that. You all are fantastic. So who inspires you in the theater world?
Who inspires me in the theater world?
There's so many people.
There are. The first person I think of is Laura Benanti.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. That just came out of nowhere. But I think she's so good at crossing so many different platforms. And she's so funny, but she's also an ingenue. She has like all of these different levels to her. And I think she's someone who's really done a great job of bringing herself to everything and not just sticking in one box.
Yes. And speaking of someone who keeps theater alive, like,
oh yeah,
doing that this whole.
Yeah. And she's also like an activist. I think she's just so awesome. And she's someone, since I was little, I always looked up to her. And I just think I love when people are just unabashedly like funny in themselves. And so I really have always just been drawn to her. I'm sure there's 1,000 other people that I could name right now, but I'm sticking to her.
Well, going off that,
okay.
So if you think of someone else,
yes.
Besides her,
mm-hmm.
Who would you want to be on stage with in the future?
Can I say her?
You can say her, but
who would I want to be on stage with? In the future?
I think Laura's the obvious here.
The obvious choice.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of someone like obviously like Patti LuPone or someone. Come on, but I think this is a cop-out answer. But I really just want to be on stage with my friends again. I love that. I have so much fun when I get to perform with my friends, and I've gotten lucky. Brooke Singer, who was Cecile in Cruel Intentions, is one of like my best friends from Broadway Dreams. We've been friends for 10 years. And then we did Grumpy Old Men together 2 summers ago. And then we went directly on tour with each other. And it was like, oh, we get to play like make-believe. This is what we do at home anyway. So I think that's my blanket answer. I just want to be on stage with my friends in the future.
Yes. We just need theater back so you can be on stage. Yeah, that's the answer. And speaking of Grumpy Old Men, because you've brought that up a lot, what was that show about? Because I heard about that show. I never got to see it because it was in what, isn't it South? La Mirada is.
Yeah, La Mirada. Yeah, in Orange County.
It's like an hour away from LA, and I don't drive, so it's like.
You're like, I'm not going to. It's based off of a movie, and it's a funny musical that I love. Going back to like funny people, it's a cast of like old character actors, and so I was in true heaven. Like there were 3 people who were under the age of 30 in the cast. We like played like the young kids in town, and I just got to hear like all these amazing stories. Like I'm a huge Gilmore Girls fan, and Sally Struthers was in it with me, and like became one of my favorite people. Like obviously I've obsessed with over her for years, and she like brought me a book to rehearsal one day and like wrapped it, and like she'll text me. It was like the biggest gift of getting to spend all this time with people who've had these huge careers. I mean, Ken Page, who's been in everything and is the voice of, I think, Oogie Boogie in Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh my goodness.
Isn't that his name? Oogie Boogie?
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
Yeah, but like I've always wanted to work with him, and he was in the show. And just to be able to sit with these people who've had like 40 years or 50 years in the theater, and hear all of their stories and the ups and downs, it was like the biggest gift of not knowing what I was walking into. I was like, oh, I'm going to do a fun, weird musical that's like doing out of town tryouts to hopefully go to New York. And it was just like so much more than that.
How many times has it been on a stage?
They did it 10 years ago in Canada as an out of town tryout, and then couldn't get the rights in the US. So they redid it for the first time 2-3 years ago in Ogunquit, which is when I did it first. And then a couple of us went to do it at La Mirada the second time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I saw it twice on your resume, so I was like...
Yeah, and then they were supposed to do a tour of it next year, I think.
Oh, and it's like, who knows what's going on at this point. Yeah. Speaking of movies that have been turned into musicals, if you could turn any movie into a musical, which one would it be?
Okay. Really want like an official A Walk to Remember. I want like, not that I don't like, I want it like a full-fledged production, whether it's Jordan's or something. I just need it to happen. But my number one thing that I want made into a musical, which isn't a movie, I really want a Schitt's Creek musical.
Oh, my parents would be down for that. They keep trying to get me to watch it.
Oh, you have to watch it. It's so good. I desperately want a Schitt's Creek musical.
They never like are into talking about like TV all the time, but they were like, "Oh my god, it's so good! It's so genius."
It is. They're right.
And since you're a Walk to Remember fan, are you a Manny Moore fan too?
Oh yeah, of course.
Do you have a favorite Manny Moore song? Random question.
I don't know. I can't think of any off the top of my head. Is that bad? I think I'm gonna pick one of the Walk to Remember soundtracks.
Yes.
Songs. With Only Hope, definitely.
Yes.
Definitely Only Hope.
It makes me sob.
It's so good. It's so good.
I'm like, oh my god, I'm getting like goosebumps and sobbing and
Yeah, I can't wait till I get to see it again.
It's so good. And what's on your current theater bucket list?
Okay. Like roles or
like roles, anything.
Oh, okay.
Dream roles or like anything else that's on your bucket list.
My bucket list is to get back to see some LA theater because I really want to go back. But I think roles, I know this is really basic, but I really want to be in Wicked.
Okay.
I think that soundbite's gonna haunt me. But I definitely would love to be in Wicked. I'd love to be Fiyero. And other than that, Frozen, I don't know. Well, Frozen doesn't anymore, but I think Wicked. I think if we're talking long-running shows, Wicked is definitely top of the list.
Well, Frozen still has a tour, so you never know.
It does.
But I could see Wicked.
Yeah.
Dancing Through Life. Yeah. Yes. Now I need to hear that.
I know.
I'm gonna be like at Wicked musical. Here's my casting for your next Fiyero.
Please, I'll take anything I can get.
Yes, and they're gonna be like, "Oh my god, you tweet us like every day. Stop tweeting us your dream cast." Get it?
I'll retweet it in a heartbeat.
Yes, I'll tweet it right after this. If you could revive any Broadway musical that's now closed, what would it be?
These are hard.
It's kind of supposed to be
fun questions, but they're like super, everyone's like, oh my God.
Yeah, they're great. Would I be reviving with a different cast?
Yeah,
Or could I just
or
be
same cast, or same cast.
I'm really sad I missed the original Grey Gardens. I mean, there hasn't been a revival. But if I could bring that cast back, I really would. I really love Christine Ebersol.
I've got it. That's different than a lot of the ones I've gotten in the past week, because a lot of the people in the past week have said Parade.
Oh, wow. I would do that too.
That's that's been such like the like straight answer over the last week is Parade. And I was like,
we
okay.
definitely are due for a Parade revival.
Yes. I would
really
love to see it. Love to see it. And do you have a funniest thing that's happened to you on stage that you remember?
I have a lot.
Holy ma.
Okay, we'll give you we'll give a Baz one. I had a lot of mishaps in Baz because you didn't see the show in Vegas, did you?
I didn't see it in Vegas.
So it was huge. Like, and we had runways down the audience and a lot of room for error. And Romeo ran everything. You would have to like run down the flight of steps at full force, stop, and then like you'd be like have a spotlight hit you. And so I often you were allowed to leave at a certain point because you couldn't open the door before they saw you.
Yeah.
You had to like have it timed specifically, and I would talk to the ushers a lot. I was like in love with the ushers at the Venetian and Palazzo. I thought they were the funniest ladies in the world. And so I would talk to them, but they would distract me. Like I would be like trying to listen, and I'd be like, okay, listen, Susan, gotta go. And so I was late one day because I was talking to them, and I like ripped the door open, and I'm running, and my shoe got stuck, and you just hear, and I like slid into an audience member, and like the spotlight comes up on me, and I'm literally like horizontal. And it wasn't great. But I like got myself up and I was like, okay. And I like threw my back out. I was like hobbled. Oh. But I also had a mishap. Darren Criss came to the show and he was sitting like in the same seat Jordan sat in that like I would mess with. And something happened during Love is Blindness where after my quick change, the gun got stuck in like it wrapped in my mic. And I had like the bloody shirt on. And so I go to take the mic out and it ripped my entire microphone out. And just like, so I'm singing the song with like a full band and no one can hear me. And I'm like screaming, but I also have like a mic pack laying on the ground and a wire hanging off me. I got put through the ringer.
But I'm sure you're wonderful in it.
You know, I just kept going.
I would love it back in Los Angeles or Vegas, honestly, because I've never been to Vegas. So, like, seeing it in that setting would be amazing. Oh, yeah.
It was really
and I think it would give me a reason to want to go to Vegas, because I don't think I'd go to Vegas if it wasn't for, like, a live performance of some sort.
Yeah, that's a big draw for people to go.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I've never wanted to go to Vegas, but now that FTR is there, I'm like, okay, now I want to go.
Yeah.
And I never got to it. So this industry is hard, and you get a lot of no's, and you get put through like basically everything possible. So how do you work on self-confidence in this industry?
It's always a struggle. I think you have to assemble a tribe of people who support you and make you feel encouraged, but also don't like baby you. And I think I really got lucky with my schooling of like my group of friends from college, and also got lucky falling into people like For the Record, because they're people I hold on such a pedestal of just amazing, immense talent. I mean, look at Ruby Lewis. Like, I just bow at the altar. Yeah. And they're also incredible people. And so they kind of have taught me, I've learned by example from a lot of them, that they carry themselves really strongly, but are never cruel or rude. So that's a good reason, like a good method. Surround yourself with good people. And also, I try to remind myself of that thing my dad says, where who knows what's good and what's bad. Because I've gotten to at least live some of it. When he used to say it to me growing up, I'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about. But now that I've seen everything play out a little bit, so far, and seen how awesome things can be if you just really try and let it happen, I've kind of just used that as a guiding light, where I definitely get disappointed about not getting things and give myself a day to really mope, and then kind of just on to the next.
Yes, love that. Because it's so hard to not be like, oh, well, this person got this. And
oh, yeah. Especially with social media, it's so hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard not to fall into the vortex. And I think that's kind of been the gift of this time, if there are any, just a break from all of it, and just kind of realizing what's important, and that there are really important things happening in the world. And for me, I'd rather be a part of that and focus my time and energy on that, as hard as it is to keep yourself motivated, than to fall into like, well, he got another show and he also has abs, and because I can easily fall into the phone vortex.
Oh, it's real. It's real. It's out there.
Yeah.
And what do you think live theater will be like when it's able to come back after quarantine? How do you think it will be the same and different?
I don't know. It's something I've thought about a lot these past few weeks. Because at the beginning of quarantine, I was like, I'm so happy to have a break. And now I find myself listening to like Broadway on Sirius XM, like driving, crying. I'm like, I just want it back. But I don't know. I think there will be a lot of like more intimate productions. And I do think the first things that probably will come back are maybe things like LA theater, where you can control everything and it's not like you're doing stuff for mass production. Yeah. I have a lot of friends who are involved with like the few productions that are happening, like Godspell, and Barrington Stage is doing like concerts right now. And it seems very involved with how they're going through all the procedure, like protocol. But I do think that it will have to start coming back in smaller venues. And I think that's not terrible. I kind of like the idea of regional theaters being the norm and like the guiding light right now, just because they have a bigger sense of community around them.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my hope, is that comes back first.
And I feel like people in their hometowns don't realize how much regional theater might be around them.
Yeah, I agree. I even growing up in Philly, there are so many amazing theaters here, and I didn't use the resource of having them at all. Like, I remember seeing Amadeus at the Walnut Street Theater here, and I was like, wow, that was really good. Little did I know I was seeing Rob McClure playing Amadeus. Like, he was like my whole growing up, I like saw him in so many shows, and I was like, oh, he's a Philly actor. Little did I know he was like this amazing.
Yeah. And now he has like viral Twitter, Instagram videos. They're hilarious, genius.
Superstar. So I think if people can tap into that resource of the regional theaters and keep them running and keep them open, I think we have a shot of some sort of normalcy with it.
And do you think virtual theater will stick around?
I don't know. It's cool. I mean, even things like this have come about through this. So I hope we don't lose that. I don't think we will lose that. I don't think we can ever go back to before. But
normal.
Yeah, there is no normal anymore. So I think it's just kind of how we go from here. But I think online theater will continue, and I'm sure it will get better and improve. And I think there will be a lot of like controlled theater. I think they'll do productions where they put everyone together for a few weeks and film it and then put it out, kind of like a movie set.
Like kind of like Diana's doing right now, maybe.
Yes, exactly like that. Yeah.
Yes, that'd be amazing. I would love that.
Yeah.
And before I get to the last question, what's the first thing you're going to do once quarantine ends, besides go to a theater show? I know that you were going to say go to a theater show or something. So
No, I don't. I'm like, I forget what real life is. I'm gonna go. I don't know. I'm gonna throw a party, a huge party.
Yes.
Where I won't have to worry about people in masks, and it's gonna be a 3-day extravaganza. You're welcome to come. I don't know where it'll be, and I don't know who's paying for it, but that's what I'm doing.
Yes, and all the food in the world.
Yes, and shared everything.
Yes.
It'll be safe and
I'm so down. As long as there's food, count me in.
yeah, done.
And lastly, have you been working on anything in quarantine, or like doing like covers, or that you'd want to promote?
Well, okay. I developed a podcast, which I had been talking about forever. It's called Spiraling, and it's about the in-betweens in life and mental health and kind of the things we talk about of it's hard to not fall into the spiral of social media and everything. So I was working on that nonstop for a few months, and then everything, the current climate of the world kind of erupted, and I realized that I was like, the last thing we need right now is me clogging the internet and clogging the lines, complaining about my own privilege. So I decided to use that time that I've been spending, because I was spending you've been doing this. It's so many hours. And I was like, I can do better things. So I've kind of decided that for the next few months, I'm putting a hold on that and have been working on things to improve my own community. So I've just been trying to help with voter registration, and I'm working on a show with some of the Philadelphia social networks to promote local Black and queer businesses.
Oh.
So that's kind of been my project. But other than that, I haven't really been doing much. I feel like the days are going by so quickly. I'm like, I don't know where the time went. I haven't gotten that much done.
But it's there's no set, you have to get this and this and this done.
No, it does feel, I have these nightmares, and I wonder if other people have them, but I'll wake up and I'll be like, oh, everything's going back to normal tomorrow. And I'm like, no, I need at least 3 to 4 weeks before this ends, before we go back to a school schedule, Yeah. It's the week before summer break ends, and you're like, I need to get back on my sleep regimen. I can't go to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
I just sit up and watch Gilmore Girls.
That's what I've been doing.
I know.
I've been editing and watching Gilmore Girls.
It is the only thing that is keeping me semi-sane.
Yeah.
Because I just go and I forget about everything happening, and I forget about all of the great time I'm spending with my family. But Lorelai Gilmore has gotten me through.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
And also at first I was watching Dance Moms, which is ridiculous, but I'm like, oh my God, I need this drama to take away from the real drama going on.
I've been watching The Real Housewives. Also, wait, that's my answer for who I want to be on stage with. Lauren Graham.
Okay, yes. And she was in, did you watch Zoe's? Did you watch Michael and Zoe's? Yeah.
I watched her kiss Michael Thomas Grant on Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist.
Michael.
I was freaking out.
Yes. And it's Gilmore Girls.
I love Zoe's. That's an amazing show. That's gotten me through quarantine as well.
Oh, I've been dream casting people in that show too, so you might get 2 tweets.
Please put that tweet out there. So you tweet that right at Lindsay.
Austin, Zoe's playlist, my dream cast for them and all the LA actors and stuff, and your name will be included. And then for Wicked, I'll be at Wicked Musical, and everyone will be stop.
Thank God.
I love dream casting.
You're hired as my new agent and manager.
I'm down. I love dream casting. And to keep up with you and what you're doing on social media and learn more information about what's going on right now, where can people follow you?
You can follow me at J Batsby, JayBattsby. I did choose that before I was in Baz. It was not like a Baz J Gatsby. It's my favorite book, but it worked out well.
Yeah.
When I did join the cast, people were like, he changed his Instagram handle for this. I was like, no, this was my screen name from when I was in 6th grade. But yeah, you can follow along at J Batsby. And yeah, on Twitter, Instagram, the whole enchilada.
It's like you read my mind on that question because I was like, okay, I need to ask about the
Yeah, I knew it. I saw the glimmer in your eye.
Yes. Well, thank you for chatting with me on this.
Thanks for having me. This was awesome. This made my week.
Aw, well,
It was
thank
nice
you.
to talk about all the things I love.
Yeah, all the things we love and miss.
Yeah. Well, stay safe. I look forward to seeing you at my big party that I'm throwing.
Yes, I cannot wait till that party. I'll fly wherever. I need to get on a plane.
It'll be in LA. It'll be in LA. Don't you worry.
Yeah.
And driving distance for you. It will not be near La Mirada.
I'm actually in Texas right now, so I'm in between.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not throwing it in Texas, so you'll have to come down.
No. We don't want it in Texas. But I'll go back to LA. My apartment is still there.
Perfect.
So it'll be great.
Awesome.
Well,
thank you.
Of course. Have a good rest of your day. Enjoy Gilmore Girls. I love that show.
I'm on season 2 again.
Oh, yes. We can just watch on later.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching this episode of Backstage with Becca B. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Becca B Talks TV. Or for more exclusive content from this interview and more, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Backstage with Becca B. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video, or if you're tuning in on Apple Podcasts, make sure to go ahead and give me a 5-star rating. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye!